Hello, and welcome this morning. I am here to talk to you about leadership and diversity. And I was asked to do this short video to put you guys' mind at ease on how to handle instruction in your classroom when dealing with leadership and diversity. So we're going to take a look at a few things today. Hopefully it'll help you out and when you're writing your lessons plans to help with the different types of learners that you will encounter throughout the year. So, what is the definition of diversity? We're going to start with that. Webster's dictionary basically says diversity is the inclusion of individuals representing more than one national origin, color, religion, socioeconomic stratum, sexual orientation, etc. So, what that's basically telling us is that there are so many different ways we can look at what diversity is. The one thing I did notice it didn't point out was when we were just talking about general diversity. But there are other there's diverse learners. And we're going to cover some of those types of diverse learners. But within those diverse learners, there are all these others, national origins, the different colors, religions, socioeconomic stratums. And that does impact the way they learn. So, one of the things we do also have to pay attention to is our own personal biases. This can make a huge impact on whether or not we are successful in teaching our learners the skills that are needed. So based on our own experiences, we can have assumptions about different learners, groups, and individuals. And we must keep in mind that we have to think about that. We can't go in assuming that just because someone is of a particular color or race or religion, that maybe they are not as educated or intelligent as maybe the next individual. So that's just something we do have to keep in mind as we approach our learners. We're going to talk a little bit about differentiated instruction of these four different types of learners. There's gifted and talented learners, unmotivated learners, English learners, and learners with disabilities. So examples I can use with gifted and talented learners is there are some instructional models out there like tiered, which will allow you to not only pay attention to all the different types of learners that you're seeing listed, but it'll really help you focus also on the gifted and talented learners. Those individuals who are extremely smart, they show knowledge above most of their other classmates. You can provide opportunities for them to do different types of assignments. Things like talking about one-on-one instruction and trying to get them and seeing how they are. You can determine which one of those individuals you're going to need to maybe challenge them a little more, give them more higher level learning materials. When you talk about unmotivated learners, these are probably one of the most challenging learners just because they really don't even want to be here. So you're trying to find ways to maybe be creative and inspiring to them. So sometimes I think, in my personal opinion, when I have people who are struggling to really care what they're doing, I really try to make a personal connection with them. I try to find out things that they interest them in. And then I turn around and use that to help them learn. When I was tutoring in college, I was tutoring economics, and one of the things I did was had a student who I was tutoring who was really struggling with what we call marginal utility. And I used the example of tobacco chew. He loved chewing tobacco. And so I used an example of how if you were to go out and buy tobacco, at some point he's no longer going to want to buy tobacco because he's bought enough tobacco and used enough that he no longer would need to do that. Or if the price increased to a certain level, he would decide, hey, wait a second, this isn't as important to me as it has been in the past. So using kind of that model, it helped him kind of understand how marginal utility works. So that was one example that I used to help him. He was not very motivated before, and that really kind of spurred him, and he actually ended up doing much better in the class after just that simple process of looking at things in a different way. Another example would be is, let's say you have a student who's got a rough home life, and you find out through talking with them they do. They may not be very motivated to be in school because their home life is not promoting that. So you may want to take opportunities to find ways to engage them in things that they may enjoy doing. So there might be something, the hidden talent that they may have, and you want to, encourage them or ask them if they would like to stay after school to work on things, to give them a place of feeling, belonging to. English learners are another challenge. Obviously, we continually find individuals who are learning English, and if you're not bilingual or trilingual or whatever the case may be, that can always be a challenge for you because there's that language barrier and trouble doing communicating. So things like writing a lot of stuff, using mostly written instruction can be very helpful. Not spending so much time doing oral instruction. It also may be the idea of using some kind of technology to help with that, or even taking time to try and learn together the different languages that you guys both speak. The next category would be learners with disabilities. Individuals with disabilities, that's a wide range. They could have a physical disability, they could have a cognitive disability, they could have a behavior disability. And so we really have to kind of figure out what that disability is, use our resources to help us see how we can better them. I used to actually work with individuals with disabilities to help them find jobs. And one of the things I found is the individuals who had behavior disabilities, it was finding something they really were passionate about and really enjoyed to do, but was in a calming setting where they were not stimulated a lot. And that tended to keep them more calm and they wouldn't have outbursts. The other factor is individuals that had maybe a cognitive disability, giving them very simple tasks, the jobs that were very simple tasks, they were very easy to understand, there were not a lot of steps involved. So those are just some of the ways we can take time and think about how we can teach all these different learners how to better learn the material that we're providing. There are many assessment tools we can use to help determine them. Obviously tests, one-on-one interaction, which is some of the stuff I talked about, questionnaires. I like questionnaires because if you use a questionnaire at the beginning of the year to get an understanding of maybe where the individual came from, what language do they speak, what are some of their interests, their hobbies, you can then utilize that material to help maybe come across learning opportunities that may strike a chord with them and help them determine. And then obviously all of those actually can be used as well to determine whether the individual has learned a particular situation. So there's some really neat ways you can look at that from both sides of it, pre-learning and post-learning assessment. Technology. We live in a world of technology as we're using today to teach. And there's so many tools out there, whether you're using a smart board or Promethean board, you're watching videos online, you're using online resources through Google or any other type of resource out there that's a search engine to help you find materials. Calculators, computers, there's smartphones. There are so many tools that allow you an opportunity to find information, utilize that information, because sometimes you may find that there's a topic you want to talk about and you're just not sure how you can present it in a way that the kids might understand. And you can actually turn around and actually use that to find a video that maybe basically somebody's already done that will help the students learn. So, in conclusion, there is no right or wrong way to look at that instruction. It's finding the way that works best for the learner. And so you do want to take the time to do that. I hope this helped ease your mind a little bit as you start thinking about your classes that you're teaching and the lesson plans that you tend to write over the year. And if you have any questions, feel free to always contact me. I thank you for your time, and you have a wonderful day.